There's many ways that the mainstream media has lost the trust of Canadians, but not talking about this particular story, that's pretty bad.
Well, and here's the example.
We've been following Trudeau over the past few months, and we noticed that his recent press conferences have been extremely dry. No hard questions, just rehearsed answers, and, well, it turns out that there is a reason for that. And it's low, even for Trudeau.
Let's take a look at the Ottawa Citizen. McDougall, press must call out PMO's lies. The media's silence on this matter signals that they are on their last legs.
At some future point, historians will need to judge precisely when the free press died in Canada. And while historians are rarely able to identify the exact moment of an institution's death, this past week is in with a strong shot. Not that you'd know it. The much vaunted quote-unquote free press certainly isn't saying much about its own demise. The mighty parliamentary press gallery, a not infrequent thorn in my side when I was director of communications to Stephen Harper, has been quiet as a mouse. Strike that. The gallery is the dog that isn't barking. What am I on about? This week, a Substack author figured out the Prime Minister's office repeatedly lied to reporters about the Prime Minister's schedule, saying that the PM had no upcoming events when, in fact, he did, including meeting other political leaders, thereby denying reporters a chance to properly cover and scrutinize the PM's activities and work. This included after-the-fact attempts by his staff to cover their tracks on the PM's website.
Thankfully, that Substack writer was Paul Wells, a well-known veteran journalist, formerly of Maclean's, the National Post, the Globe and Mail, the Toronto Star, and the Montreal Gazette. A man who has written multiple books about prime ministers and their activities. A man, in other words, who knows his stuff. And yet, crickets. A quick Google reveals precisely 0 follow-up stories from other Canadian media. A quick check of the social media accounts of the Parliamentary Press Gallery executive reveals no tweets of protest. President Mia Robson's account is protected. The Prime Minister's office lied to evade press scrutiny, and the press said nothing. Go ahead and stick a fork in it yourselves. That's all she wrote. It's over. Contrast this silence to when the Harper government implemented a quote-unquote list system for the gallery when taking questions in Ottawa. The change produced howls of protest for months. Or contrast Trudeau's deception to when the Harper government forced media requests to be answered via various ministers' offices within departments and not via departmental officials, including scientists directly. Again, howls. And when we started using social media to issue our own photos and interpretations of events, rage.
No, this isn't about the Prime Minister's security. He has an entire team to protect him when he is in public. The Prime Minister's office could let the media know if the PM is meeting a fellow leader without anyone in the general public knowing. They chose not to. A bar tip-off to a CP reporter. If we had played favorites like that without the knowledge and agreement of the rest of the gallery, we would have been crucified. What's changed? Certainly not the role of the free press. What's changed is everything else. The media are suffering a death by 1,000 cuts thanks to tech companies taking their ad money. The press's challenge function grows weaker by the day as an ocean of content rises to drown it out on platforms that are incentivized to promote the sensational over the accurate. A single Paul Wells Substack post, while fragrant and rapier sharp, is but one small fart in a hurricane of other, more enticing scents.
Back to dogs not barking. What's also changed is the Liberal government has multiplied the number of taxpayer supports for reporters and jammed them further down the newsroom's collective throats to quote-unquote help journalism. Even if this funding has nothing to do with not covering the PMO's lies on scheduling, the public's perception could easily and forgivably be that it has everything to do with it. That, friends, is a way to lose trust. To ensure death, the time to do the job is now.
Well, and I think that's something that we've said before, is that mainstream media is dying a slow death. They're reliant on government handouts. And also they're competing against, non-mainstream media like us, for example. I mean, we have a stake in this as well. And we've seen it firsthand that accuracy in reporting is not always the number one priority. It's, well, does that thumbnail look really flashy? Is it clickable? Who's on it? We've noticed that, for example, thumbnails that we have guests or people speaking that aren't like in the core cabinet or conservative MPs that people would recognize, they don't get an uptick the way that other videos would.
Right, because people don't recognize them, so there's no familiarity, and so there's no reason for them to click on them. And that's not a complaint. It's just
reality. Yeah,
that's just the reality.
It's reality. It's how we work as humans. We want to see something familiar. We want to see something enticing.
And we accept that, and we hope that people that do view that material do like it, and in most cases they do, which is great. But we know it's not going to be a blockbuster like a Justin Trudeau and Mercedes Stevenson video where Trudeau gets told nobody likes you here.
Your polls would indicate that you're not heading for a better year. 7 out of 10 Canadians want you to step down. People are being very clear that they don't like you.
So, it is what it is. However, it doesn't detract from the fact that people have to stay with accuracy. And sure, these media organizations may think they're being accurate, but the reason why people are not watching you anymore is because you are not accurate, or you're not telling the entire truth.
Right. It's because many Canadians do not trust the mainstream media anymore. Again, there have been instances where we've seen something happen in committee. We watched it on Parliament, which is the cameras literally in Parliament. And then somebody else, like one of the mainstream moguls, will write an article on it that's completely the opposite of what we just saw and tilted towards favoring the Liberals. So we're sitting here like, that's not accurate. I saw it with my own eyes. How can you report on that? Like, it's technically true, but you left out a lot of it.
Well, like, imagine if you're going to court against somebody and then you learn that the person that you're against is paying 70% of the judge's salary. You're probably not going to be too enthralled with that, and you're not going to believe that that judge is going to be impartial. Even if he is, you're not going to believe it.
Right. So there's many ways that the mainstream media has lost the trust of Canadians, but not talking about this particular story, that's pretty bad.
Well, and here's the example. So this is a press note that was sent out to the press gallery by the PMO's office, August 5th, 2024, and it says, "Note, all times local, Winnipeg, Manitoba, no public events scheduled." And this was the next update that they sent out, August 6th, 2024. And all of a sudden, 10:40 a.m., the Prime Minister will attend a breakfast hosted by Black History Manitoba to commemorate Emancipation Day. Note for media, pooled coverage, 12:40 p.m. The Prime Minister will attend a barbecue held in recognition of healthcare workers. Note for media, pooled coverage. So isn't it interesting how the first update that's sent out says nothing's happening? And then the next update that they get is it's already happened. So what that means is that they're giving the impression that there's going to be no pressers, and then the Prime Minister's office tries to cover its tracks by sending out the next update indicating that, oh yeah, there was press conferences, and yeah, we posted it, but not until after they were over.
Yeah, that next update was sent out, it looks like around 2:20 p.m.
Well, and it was a day later. So how, this is the problem. So the media knows that this is happening and they're just going along with it. Well, no wonder that Trudeau is only getting softball questions. No wonder he's not being challenged. No wonder all of his answers are rehearsed, because he knows what the questions are going to be and he knows who's going to be asking them.
Well, there's two situations here. If the press goes to these things and does their job properly and asks the hard questions, and Trudeau looks like a moron, he's more likely to lose support.
Right.
Therefore, when the Conservatives get into power, they're going to be cutting this funding that's going to mainstream media.
Yep.
No doubt they'll completely get rid of Bill C-18. So they're losing their meal ticket if they go to this. But they're not mad. And this is the thing, because like ordinarily you would think they would be mad, because if they're not informed about these things, they can't go to the press conferences and they can't ask the hard questions and they can't publish the articles going, look what I asked the Prime Minister and this horrible answer that he gave. Please read me and give me money. Instead, they're content with it because they know they're getting the money anyways from Trudeau.
Yeah, and it's an indictment on all of them. And unfortunately, it seems like it's just demonstrating that they are complicit in this. And that, everybody, is the death of democracy. But this is why we're here, to ensure that you hear what is actually going on, that we try and validate everything that we put out, and that hopefully, when the Conservatives get in, we can finally get back to a free and open media, and that the Conservatives, and they better welcome the hard questions from all media outlets, because that's their job, to hold any government accountable.